Welcome back. In this video, we're going to add some of the larger curves to the right side of our layout. So what we'll do is we'll add trackage from this switch here, following along here, and then down to here. Now, like I mentioned in the other video, there's going to be some jump cuts in this video, and that is because I don't want to take up all of your time showing you exactly how I put this track in. I mean, a lot of it is going to be you put the piece of track in and then you move it a little bit and then you try your interconnecting track and you just keep doing that over and over again until you get your track looking the way you want it to. And I don't want to take that much time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another drawing open, and that drawing is this one. And then this one I've already put in the track. As you can see, I've put it in down here. And I've made it a section, and I've made it a light orange color. And then I've also added some other track out here and put in the yard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to basically position the pieces. And then I'm going to get the exact measurements off of this drawing and put them in. And then that way I can show you a little quicker about how I did this. So let's lose this drawing. Okay, so let's get started on this and let's start putting in our track. So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to add a new layer for this section of track that we're going to put in. So I'm going to come up here and to add layer. And we're going to put in and that's now our working layer. Let's arrange these guys. There we go. And the first piece of track I'm going to start with is I'm going to put in a curved switch here. And that's because, as I have mentioned in the other videos, I'm planning on punching through my wall here and going into my hallway and building a shelf extension layout out there with a bunch of bookcases above and below it. So we're going to try and place this switch right here. And that switch is going to be this guy right here, number 8889. It's a number 7.5. And its radius is 28 and 32 inches. So let's grab that guy. And we're going to bring him over here. I'm going to rotate him around. And I'm going to start to position him. So let's zoom in so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to rotate him like that. And I'm going to drag him up here. And I'm just going to put him on the drawing's track line. And that looks pretty close. I don't think I can get it any closer than that. That's even better. Let's leave it like that. Now there's going to be a jump cut while I go get the exact dimension. So stand by. So just in case you're interested in what I did there, what I did was on the other drawing, I highlighted the piece of track, right-clicked, went to details. And I looked at what my endpoints were. And I know this endpoint is going to be pointing up towards the 360 degree mark on our compass. So I looked at this number here and said, oh, 351.4 degrees. So I took that number and I put it in as the angle for this endpoint. And then this is the X and this is the Y. And I did the same thing. I have it printed out on another piece of paper. So I just went in, I looked at it, the endpoint, and then put those numbers in here. And that dropped it into the exact same position as I have on the other drawing. So let's go out here and let's put in this track and this curve. Now this is fairly easy. We're just going to come over here. We're going to grab a piece of straight track. I'm going to bring it down here. I'm going to connect it up. Then I'm going to drag this down like that. Now we know this switch has a radius of 28 and 32 inches. 28 here, 32 here. And I could continue a 28-inch radius curve down to this point. But what I'm going to do is I want to make a little bit of an easement in here. So I'm going to cut that somewhere right in here. Right about there, I think. I'm going to cut the flex. I'm going to come up here, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to highlight it and say smooth flex. And now let's look at it down at the bottom. That gives us almost a 31-inch radius leading into this 28. So that's pretty nice. Now you can do easements, but I'm having trouble working out how to do the easements. So maybe in the future we will discuss how to do easements. So okay, let's come over here and let's put in our extension. Now I really don't know where the studs are in my wall yet. I'm going to borrow an infrared camera and look for the studs and mark it. So I'm just going to put some track in here as a holding piece of track. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go grab that and steal it from the other drawing and paste it in. So we'll just paste that in right here. And that gives me some track to show just that it's going to go through the wall eventually. It's going to go through at an angle. That's going to be fun. All right, let's go up here and we'll pull this down. And what we'll do is we will put in these sections right here. Now in my other drawing, these actually ended up being a little curved, but I'm going to start with a straight section here just to show you how I line that up. So let's go grab a piece of flex. We're going to cut it and drag it over. Now we'll put it in here and let's get in a little bit. I'm going to line this up. Let's go back out. Now this section right here is going to be a 28-inch radius curve. And I don't really know what the angle is going to be. So I'm going to take this piece of track and I'm going to say curve, and I'm just going to make it, let's say 40 degrees and 28-inch radius. Now we'll just drag, we'll drag it over here if we can grab it. And we're going to pop that in. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to drag it out like that. We're going to come over here, we're going to lose the main image, and we're going to go to center line. And we're going to look for that tangent point. And it's somewhere right in here. But again, we want to make kind of an easement in. So I think what we'll do is we're going to cut this right about here. And let's see what happens. We'll drag that piece off that way. And then let's look at our image one more time. And let's cut this piece of track somewhere in here. And we're just going to cut it like that. I'm going to lose the image again. And now I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it back. I'm going to connect it. I got a little bit of red there, so this may not work. I'm going to hit smooth flex. Let's see what we got. 25 and 5/8. That is not very good. So let's back up and let's try cutting it somewhere else. Let's cut it closer up here. Let's see what happens this time. Cut flex. Drag that piece out of the way. I want to look at my image. I'm going to again try cutting it somewhere in here. Smooth it. 32 inches, so that's much better there. Let's go back to track. So now that adds a little bit of an easement coming into this curve here. So as you can see, sometimes you got to just cut, see what it does, back up using Control Z, and try it again until you get it to look like you want it to look like. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. We're going to drag this down. Now, this piece up here again is slightly curved going into this curve up here. So its construction is basically what I did down here. I put a straight piece coming along here, extended them out, then put a curved piece of track, and in this case I used a 24-inch radius, which is my minimum radius. And then I just worked it in so that I got a little bit of easement. And that's why this piece on this bridge here and this piece on the trestle here ended up being curved. But I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to pop in those pieces. Okay, so here's the track going across the trestle here, my curved piece, and then my slightly curved piece coming into this trestle up here. So let's pop up here, and we're going to put in this curve and then the track coming down here. So the first thing I did, seems to be the first thing you do every time, is grab a piece of flex. And I put a piece of flex up here. And I lined it up on the drawing. And then I extended it out like that. So now we need to put a curve in here. So what we're going to do is we are not going to work anything out. We're just going to do this one by hand. So we're going to cut our flex right about there. Now let's join them. And then let's start moving our handles and see if we can get this piece of track to come in. And you'll notice I forgot to glue my track. So let's back up. Let's glue this guy and let's glue this guy. Now let's come down, put them together, and see what kind of damage we can do here. And we got the red in there, so we'll just keep working the handles back and forth. What kind of radius do we have right now? 25 and 23 30-seconds. So we're above our minimum. As you can see, I can just keep working this back and forth. Until I've got something that I like. And we're getting really close here. A little over 26 inches. So I think we're going to keep it that way. So just keep moving the handles back and forth. And you can work that piece of track in. So now we're looking pretty good. So we've got this whole lower section done. We now have our track coming in here into the nice curves that sweep around. And over here towards this area where we will be putting in some industrial sidings and some other things. And we've got our future extension track put in as well. So let's stop here. And I think on the next one, we will add in this section up here. We'll come all the way around and we'll put this yard in. And that is going to be very interesting. It's actually a lot of fun. And before we go, I just want to say something about the title of this video, the Swoopy Doopy line. The Swoopy Doopy comes from an old commercial that ran on KCBS probably back in the early 1990s. It's about a car dealer who's trying to sell his new cars, and he starts talking about the new model year's Swoopy Doopy lines. For some reason, the engineering department liked that line, and we just used it for various things. Another line from those commercials that we liked was one that involved putting in a new car stereo. The installer told his people to rip out the dash. The engineering department liked the line, rip out the dash, and whenever we would go into a studio and start doing some work, we would say, rip out the dash. Yeah, I know, it's not very funny to you, but it was quite amusing to us. Probably says a lot about what kind of person becomes a broadcast engineer. So, see you in the next video.